Hello everyone, welcome to Prelims 360 session. In this class, we'll try to discuss some of the important themes of environment and economy. Each and every year, we are getting around 12 to 15 questions in environment and 15 to 18 questions from economy. And these two subject forms around 35 to 40 questions in each and every prelims. So it's better to understand this subject comprehensively and understanding where exactly to focus. First, we'll try to discuss some of the important themes of environment. Moving on to the environment, we got a couple of themes, namely pollution, species, national parks, acts, climate change initiatives, national bodies, wetlands, renewable energy, and certain important aspects of basics. If we delve into the pollution part, see in 2021 we got two questions on pollution itself, especially the the iron smelting. So likewise, we usually get one or two questions in each and every year on pollution itself. So try to go through the important aspects of pollutions. For example, the carbon pollution, SO2 pollution, NO2 pollution, photochemical smog. What is the difference between photochemical smog and smog? And so there are certain bodies associated for the pollution, for example CPCB, and there are certain various rules and mechanisms like e-waste management rules, plastic waste management rules, which was asked in 2019 prelims. Try to go through these concepts comprehensively, right from the basics part, like the sources which emits these pollutants, and along with that various mechanisms put in place by the government in order to arrest or combat the pollution. And along with that, the species part. The species is one of the most favorite topic for UPSC. In each and every year, we get one or two questions on species itself. For example, we got question on elephant species in 2019 prelims. We got question on musk deer in 2020 prelims. We got question in 2021. We got question on rolling, which are all the animals which gets rolled down. So likewise, we usually get one or two questions on species. They are largely focusing on the species from northeastern India and especially central India and Western Ghats. So make sure that you go through these species properly. Make sure that you make the chart of at least 25 to 40 important species based on the previous year papers. If you go through the options of the previous year papers, you will get good number of species. And the national parks and acts. So acts, Wildlife Protection Act, Forest Conservation Act, EPA Act 1986, Forest Rights Act. Likewise, you try to go through the important provisions of all the important acts which are already been asked by the UPSCs. Then the national park question. So there are a couple of national parks in Western Ghats, northeastern India, and certain parts of central India and Himalayan states. You'd largely focus on those national parks. It's technically not possible to remember each and every national park of India, but you focus on these regions. Next one is climate change initiatives. So the basics part of the climate change initiative like Kyoto Protocol, Nagoya Protocol, the CBD convention, you try to go through those aspects, and along with that observe last 2 to 3 years ka current affairs where different governments and international community has taken various steps to combat climate change. For example, in 2021 we got question on climate smart agriculture. So likewise, you try to go through the initiatives. While going through the initiative, understand whether it is binding in nature or not, like New York Declaration, which was asked in 2021 prelims, whether India is a member, say a signatory member of that particular convention or initiative or not, whether it is a founding member or not. Likewise, you try to go through those core dimension part in climate change initiatives. The national bodies, as I've already mentioned, so based on the acts, various national bodies have been constituted. For example, GEC, like Genetical Appraisal Committee, which was constituted under the provisions of EPA 1986 Act, Wildlife Crime Control Bureau, NTCA, National Tiger Conservation Authority. So it was constituted under WPA, Wildlife Protection Act 1972. So likewise, try to go through the important bodies which were constituted under various important acts and understand who is the chairman of it, what are the important functions and objectives of those organizations. Moving on to the wetlands, in 2021 we got question on saline water lakes. So in 2020 also we got one question on lakes itself. For example, since the Indo-China conflict was largely in news in 2020, we got one question related to the wetland present in Jammu and Kashmir. Likewise, you try to go through the wetlands properly. What do you mean by Montreux record, wetlands of national important Ramsar site, artificial lake. Likewise, in 2018 we got question on artificial lake. Likewise, you try to go through the important lakes present in India and the state it belongs to and certain important aspects of that particular lake. Next one is renewable energy, biofuel, HCNG, biomass gasification, gas hydrates, methane hydrates, and solar energy, wind energy, like each and every biofuel policy. Try to go through these elements properly. And the basics, so you can cover the basics from NCERT also and any standard textbook. So in the wake of pursuing different sources, don't forget the basics. One of the major mistake people usually commit is we keep on tend to forget the basics. So make sure that your basics is really strong so that you can answer most of the questions in the UPSC. Moving on to the economy part. In economy, we got around 7 to 8 themes. So more or less the questions revolves around these themes itself. One of the important aspect of economy is we usually get hybrid kind of question. That means the question consists of both basic element also and dynamic element also. So you try to converge those things while you are studying, at least in the first revision or second revision. The first one is the external sector. In external sector, FDI 2021 we got one question, 2020 we got one question, 2011 we got one question. So FDI, currency devaluation, IMF, WPO, World Bank. These are the important themes that you need to understand. Banking and money market. What do you mean by money multiplier? Like in 2021 also we got one question on money multiplier. In 2019 also we got one question on money multiplier. The same question. So the functions of RBI. So what are the new initiatives of RBI? So what is the relation between RBI and NABARD? So likewise, you try to understand some of the important aspects. For example, small finance bank, payments bank, etc. Next one is budget. FRBM Act is one of the most important act. In 2018 also we got one question. In 2021 also we got one question. Likewise, you try to understand what you ways and means advances, like definition of money bill. So whether the budget term is mentioned in the constitution or not. So what is the fiscal deficit of India? So whether it is continuously increasing or decreasing. You will get all these elements from the economic survey. And taxation, GST, non-tax revenue, tax revenue, direct taxes, indirect taxes, GST council. So what are all the commodities which are kept outside of the GST, for example, petroleum. So likewise, you try to go through those commodities also. Moving on to the other theme like inflation. So inflation, in 2021, we got one question. If you observe NDS, ADS papers, we usually get questions on microeconomics. Like UPSC used to ask macroeconomy based question in UPSC civil service so far, but from 2011 it has picked up certain elements out of microeconomics. So for that matter, you try to concentrate on the microeconomics. Along with that, you try to go through NDS, ADS paper on microeconomic part, so that you will get to understand what type of what is the nature of the question UPSC has been asking on microeconomics. Then the capital market, like certificates of deposits, global deposit receipts, P notes. So I have IFC Masala Bond, which was asked in 2016. Try to understand those elements properly. And terminologies and definitions. For example, in 2018 we got question on opportunity cost. Like what exactly, like they usually give 4 statements and they tell us to identify which of the following description best suits the definition of it. So at that point of time, you must be having the utmost conceptual clarity. So try to understand those definitions properly, chart out at least 20 to 25 definitions. For example, base rate, base effect, etc. So far we have discussed some of the important themes of economy and environment. There are other certain miscellaneous themes. For example, tribes. So PVTG, so the tribal language. In 2020, we got question on tribal language. The PVTG question was asked in 2019 prelims. Likewise, tribes is one of the most important themes. So each and every year, we get more or less one question related to the tribes, whether it may be a languages they speak or where exactly they are located, 5th schedule or 6th schedule, something like that. There are various other miscellaneous themes. For example, water is a theme. We got one question on UN water credit in 2021 prelims. The diatomic nature of the water in 2021 prelims itself. Like water is also a theme. Soil is also a theme. And in more or less in every 3 year or 2 year, we usually get question on rivers and national park or river and historical places. For example, in 2021, we got question on Ajanta caves is exactly located on which river. So likewise, there are certain interconnections between various subjects. Make sure that you try to go through those interconnections properly while you are revising for the second time or third time. So far, we have discussed some of the important themes of almost all the subjects of UPSC. Make sure that you go through these themes properly and identify the themes properly while studying UPSC related materials or standard books or NCERTs. Make sure that you try to have that orientation while acquiring the knowledge. Until and unless you don't acquire the right knowledge, you may not be able to manage the knowledge properly and execute the knowledge properly in the examination hall. So make sure that you utilize this themes properly and understand these themes properly, so that you can maximize your score in the UPSC Civil Service exam. Thank you so much.